Here's a simple animation of a scrolling banner using a multi-state bitmap object. The PLC simply increments a tag like this animation index right here. We have F1 set up to increment that index in this example since we don't have the PLC connected. Each time I press F1, it increments that tag, and the multi-state bitmap shows us a corresponding image. You can see each graphic is just a shifted copy of the previous graphic, so we get the impression of motion. When the sequence is finished, the PLC sets the index back to 0. I have F2 set up to do that. Set it back to 0, and simply starts incrementing the index again. This gives us the look of a continuously scrolling banner. Let's see how that's set up. Here we have an increment object set up to increment that animation index tag. Again, this is just for convenience. Normally the PLC would do it. We have F1 assigned to this object to make it simple for us to increment this index. Each time this recipe button is pressed, the recipe simply sets the animation index back to 0. Up here we have our multi-state bitmap object. Here we tell it to use the tag as an image index. We can also use the tag as a shift register and use the bit location to tell us which image to use. Which one you use depends on your project and how your PLC is set up. Just be sure to select this before you go to the next tab. Once you start adding images, you can't go back and change this. Here's the tag we want the multi-state bitmap to watch. Again, normally this would be on the PLC. Finally, we enter our images on this Image tab. We already have our images entered here. See the video on the multi-state bitmap to learn a few tricks on how to do that. Just remember, you're limited to 17 images shown by this number in the upper right-hand corner. So we're using all 17 of these 17 available slots. We can preview our animation using this little mini simulator right here, and that'll also show up on the main screen. So as I increment that index, we can see each individual image appear on the screen. Note that this banner is too long to fit on the screen. That's not a problem. In fact, it just shows that you're not limited to the screen width of the panel. You can have as long a message as you want. Just make sure you can scroll all of it across the screen with the 17 images. Let's go back to the simulator one more time and see it all come together. So again, we had F1 tied to that increment object, and it increments this animation index. Each time we increment the index, the multi-state bitmap sees that change and displays the corresponding image. By doing it in rapid succession, it makes it look like we have a scrolling banner. We also have that recipe button set up to reset the animation index back to 0 so we can repeat the process. That's all there is to setting up a scrolling banner. Be sure to check out the other videos in this series. And as always, please send us any topics you would like to see covered, or any other comments for that matter. We appreciate the feedback.